Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. This one will be fairly quick because about halfway through, I knew how I felt about the film. And just in saying that, I think that you yourselves will know how I feel about the film. That film being Baby Ruby, which was written and directed by Bess Wool, I believe, in her directorial debut, according to Wikipedia. Uh, Stars Nomi Merlant as well as Kit Harington as an upcoming or you know an up pretty soon a mother and a father. Centers itself within Naomi Merlant, the mother in this case, as she prepares for the birth of her child. The child is born, and we see her unraveling as she deals with the stress, the anxieties that comes with parenting, especially at the first few days, first few weeks of taking care of a child. And ultimately, what is represented in the film, quite solidly and much too apparent for me, is the consequences to being mentally unprepared for such an endeavor. The ignorance within youth, because they're like trying to represent this couple within a certain lens, and I just don't buy that they are the age that the film makes them out to be at. They seem a little bit older. They don't seem to be in their 20s or something like that. They seem to be much older. I don't know. So, there's that. And then there's, of course, the selfishness and really just the madness that is birthed from this dilemma when someone is not prepared for the responsibilities of being a parent. And with that in mind, and knowing that, because she's she's very obsessed with not only trying to understand how to be a parent, but also a lot with the attention she gets from having a child. She's obsessed with the photos and getting all these glamour shots and making her website looking super pretty because she's an influencer of some kind. She likes the reactions and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to the responsibility, the getting down and dirty sort of thing, that's when she is completely removed and she becomes crazed. And it's basically about ignorance and about, selfishness to its core. And with that, you get a character and developments that are much too knowing and obvious and quite predictable in presentation. And you also get characters, specifically the main character, that I really wasn't feeling sympathy for. And the movie's trying to elicit resonance, to those who are incapable of supporting a child, like as if oh, they do figure it out, or that sort of thing. Because the movie ends on such a, it is so, if you couldn't pick up on what the movie is about, there's no better, better illustration than at the end where she's, literally facing herself, and she's telling herself that, you're not worthy of the child, and then making this point back to her, the other version of herself, saying that, okay, now you are, because you're accepting of the truth, that you buried so deep, because it's apparent that she didn't want the child, and they're making this obvious metaphor of the child knowing of such a thing, and perhaps pushing her to accept such a thing, to then start forging some love of some kind. It's very manipulative in its commentary of its subjects and ideas. It wants me to feel sympathetic for her, but I just don't. I find her to be a very, very incapable person. She's not a person that I would trust in any respect with a child of mine, or even to have a child with. And you get performances that are pretty standard. I mean, they get the job done, but they're not doing anything more to elevate the material. They're just kind of just doing what needs to be done, and that's pretty much it. You get a craftsmanship that is, like I said, is just all too knowing. It's just, it's utilizing its visual exaggerations, because it's like there's it's a film that also is obsessed with, very much so with its character, obsessed with how it could play with its editing and basically how it looks in design. Um, and at some points it's interesting, but for the most part, you just get a overall presentation that is um, much too obvious. You just know what's going on, and you know that within like 20 or 30 minutes, and for the entire duration after said time has passed, you're then asking yourself, what else is there? What else are you making a comment on? Because ultimately it's running the same message, and it becomes drier and drier, and eventually I just found myself a little bit irritated by the end, especially with that visual thing at the end. It's like what so it's like what were you trying to, it's as if it's almost like it went against itself at the end. It's just like, okay, we don't want her to go down this particular path, even though that'd be the more realistic path, which was to probably leave her in the mental hospital. That probably would have been the best spot to have left her. But no, we want to show her that, hey, the mentally, unhinged, crazed mother is a capable mother. It's like, that's silly. So I think that it's very ignorant, as the movie itself is about. I think that it's in some ways manipulative in terms of how it addresses its subjects. You get performances that are pretty just, they're fine, but nothing more than that. So it's just pretty mediocre stuff. It's not something that will, that's quite memorable, but it's also not anything, like, I'm more irritated by the redundance in its messaging. I just wish that there was more at the forefront, because with more angles taken, I feel like that this would have had more of a reason more of a reason for me to invest. But because of its one dimensions, I found myself rather irritated by a certain point. So it's very, very one dimensional, and for a stepping off point as the icebreaker, I guess, or as the starting point of the foundation of what it is, that's fine. But I need more layers, and not just more knocks and more more feeding into that one dimension, because everything else just feeds into that one dimension. Nothing goes beyond that except what it is. It's one dimension. So as it is about ignorance, the craftsmanship itself is also fairly ignorant. So if it went outside of it, I think that it would have been something. But for what it is, it's it's not even that particularly scary either. It tries to go for a horror type angle, but it just, I don't know. I feel like a little bit more seriousness would have actually have lent itself to more frights, with the approach to it being in a more, to being more horror like. It actually came across a little bit funny. Like, there's some scenes where, and some, like, her when she's going through her madness, it's like some of the stuff that she says is just, you just start to laugh almost, like, because it's like, it just gets silly, so, but yeah, so I think I've said what I've had to say. So it's disposable. It's very forgettable. So I'll probably forget about it tomorrow or so. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Baby Ruby. I thought it was very redundant and very, just very one-dimensional. But you guys, what are your thoughts on Baby Ruby if you guys have seen it? And yeah, so that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.